Welcome to Landmarks. This time we pay homage at the Shwedagoan Pagoda. Then across to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. We sail the waters of Lake Titicaca and indulge in landmarks of chocolate. But first, to the casual observer, this view of Bankside Power Station on the banks of the Thames in London may seem unremarkable. But to art lovers around the world, it is a site of inspiration. This is the home of Tate Modern, one of the most famous contemporary art galleries in the world. The Tate Gallery was the gift of 19th century sugar magnate, philanthropist and art lover Henry Tate. Having donated his own art collection and funded the building to house it, the original gallery opened in 1897. That gallery is now called Tate Britain and is the National Gallery for British art from 1500 to the present day, as well as some modern British art. Tate Modern on the south side of the Thames opened in 2000 and now exhibits the national collection of modern art from 1900 to the present day.
One of the unique things we can do here is to show relationships between the contemporary, the modern and the historic. And so the contemporary is very important both because it's the kind of most recent chapter in a history of British art that we tell here, but also it's part of a living culture that we're trying to show work in the later rooms that is brand new, but then set it into a historical context, and that's the thing which no one else can do.
Controversy and modern art are often closely related. Tate Modern is home to the Turner Prize competition. Past winners have included a single swinging light bulb in the centre of an empty room. It is part of the Tate's charter to represent contemporary British art in its collection.
It's important for the way we present British art that we accurately reflect the diversity of the people who make it and of the subjects in all sorts of ways. And what's great is that you can see that in different periods. So you have an artist like Rosalind Nasashibi, who's of Palestinian origin, and we're showing a film of hers, which is a film of a Palestinian household. She's representing Scotland at the Venice Biennale this year. And then from an older generation, Rashida Reen, who came to Britain from Karachi in the early 60s and was one of the only minimalist sculptors in Britain at the time.
The original Tate Gallery at Millbank, on the opposite side of the Thames, was not lost to the public. In fact, it has undergone a £32 million redevelopment. The result was 4 new and 5 refurbished galleries. They tell the story of 600 years of British art from the 16th to the 21st century.
Now, with the creation of Tate Modern in London as well, this building has been able to revert to the original vision of Henry Tate, its founder, and it's once more the National Gallery of British Art.
The galleries allow a huge chronological sweep of British painting and sculpture, from medieval times to today, to be displayed together. It is the largest display of British art anywhere in the world. The increased space allows paintings by such artists as Blake, Constable and pre-Raphaelites to be brought out of storage and give space for some adventurous modern creations.
The first thing the development does is to create an increase of about 1/3 in our display space. So there are quite simply many more galleries on display. That means we can have much more art on the walls. And we're also able to explore some of the context for the collection by bringing in a number of works of art on loan.
Alongside the permanent display are special exhibitions. The Victorian Nude explores the depiction of the nude in the notoriously prudish Victorian age. In the Tate tradition, the show offers a fresh and challenging look at art in its historical context. Coming up, the Shwedagoan Pagoda. Shining golden in the heart of Rangoon in ancient Myanmar is the beautiful Shwedagoan Pagoda. Legend says it took a miracle to consecrate the land upon which it grew. 8 hairs of an ancient Buddha were brought to the site, and to enshrine the relics, multiple pagodas of silver, tin, copper and gold were built. Since the early 1990s, the country previously known as Burma has been ruled by a tough military dictatorship. And despite pleas from the country's opposition leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, for foreigners to boycott tourism, the tourists keep coming. Some tourists can see a culture clash coming.
What appeals to me is actually going to parts of Asia that's going to be developed really soon, and to catch it as it's about to develop, and to see the people as they are before commercialism sets in. That's really it, I think.
For those who do decide to visit Rangoon, the first stop is usually the majestic Shwedagoan Pagoda. The tip of the stupa has a single 76-carat diamond, but below it are 1,000 gold bells and many times that number of diamonds, rubies, sapphires and other gems. The temple complex is symmetrical and radiates a palpable sense of beauty and serenity. Thomas Bosch travelled all the way from Holland and says he's not concerned about where his tourist dollars are going to end up.
When you are going on really big group tourism, then it's, I think, organised by state-owned companies, and then the money ends up in the States. But I think if you come as a backpacker, you can change ideas with the people of Myanmar, and that's always a good thing.
The origins of Shwedagoan are lost in antiquity. Its age is unknown. Long before the pagoda was built, its location on Singutara Hill was already an ancient sacred site because of the buried relics of the 3 previous Buddhas. But now, modern reality has set in. A city with cars, crowds and shops, and the pressure for money make the need for attracting tourists all the stronger. Compared to the booming Asian economy, Myanmar is struggling financially. The infrastructure is old-fashioned in some ways. Many say it is because of the military dictatorship, but others disagree.
Structures and some of the airlines, we don't have much direct airline from those long-haul flights. That's the constraints for us.
Much of the infrastructure is a remnant of the days when the British ruled Burma, so tourists have the chance to experience some old world charm with some of Rangoon's older style 5-star hotels.
And as you know, the hotel is very small, so we have only 32 suites and 2 restaurants and 24-hour butler service, so giving a personal service to the guests, so the guests wanted to stay at the hotel and its style. So I think that is the reason the people want to stay at the Strand.
The people of Myanmar still share a village lifestyle with street markets and hawker food. But with the presence of the Shwedagoan Pagoda, their mystical, spiritual past is never far away. The Temple Mount, also known as the Noble Sanctuary, is a religious site in the old city of Jerusalem. It is the holiest site for Judaism, yet also holds great significance in the Muslim and Christian world. Today, both Israel and the Palestinian Authority claim sovereignty over the site, which remains a key issue in the Arab-Israeli conflict. Due to its importance for Jews, Muslims and some Christians, it is one of the most contested religious sites in the world. The first Jewish temple was built here around 967 BCE, but was destroyed 400 years later by the Babylonians. A second temple was built in 516 BCE, but that was destroyed by the Romans. The Temple Mount is also the site of two major Muslim religious shrines, the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Ethan and Marla Davidson Exhibition and Virtual Reconstruction Centre is located at the entrance to the excavation site at the Temple Mount complex. It allows visitors to explore ancient parts of the city as they might have appeared 2,000 years ago. It offers the visitor an in-depth introduction to the Jerusalem Archaeological Park by means of an exhibition of archaeological objects augmented by visual, textual and audio information. One of the highlights of this modern facility is a real-time virtual reality reconstruction of the Herodian Temple Mount as it stood prior to its destruction by Roman troops in the year 70 CE. Visitors are led into an 8-metre high theatre where they can view a unique high-definition 10-minute digital video describing Jewish pilgrimage during the Second Temple period. The video combines footage of the Temple Mount as it stands today and a virtual reconstruction model of how it would have appeared 2,000 years ago. The simulation is shown on a large screen within a theatre environment and provides audiences with three-dimensional images that are both breathtaking and scientifically accurate.
Enabled us to make this model. You may know probably the model created by Ives.
Archaeologist Professor Ronnie Reich from the Hebrew University describes the centre not as a museum but an orientation.
It gives the visitor the possibility to learn about the history and archaeology of Jerusalem, especially the Temple Mount area, with the help of of an array of modern technologies. The most important part is the model, the computerized model, which gives a virtual reality model of the Temple Mount.
Real-time technology allows users to interact with the computer environment, enjoying freedom of movement as in the physical world. Movement through the model is controlled by an archaeologist guide who manipulates the direction of the walkthrough in real time based on the audience's questions and interests. The model allows visitors to interact with the virtual environment and experience the splendour of the Temple Mount enclosure in its heyday. The most technologically advanced computer graphics, sound and architecture currently available are employed in the Davidson Centre. Professor Reich also noted the benefits of learning on site.
After we have learned a chapter in the history or topography archaeology of Jerusalem, we can go to the site itself, which is about 50 meters just behind this building, and to visit the archaeological site. And then when we have this information at our disposal, learn of the site from first grade.
The Temple Mount is one of the world's most sacred sites, at different times causing deep divisions and other times bringing spiritual unity. It continues to be so. The Israeli government has granted management of the site to a Muslim council. Coming up, Lake Titicaca. Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world. Spread across the border between Bolivia and Peru, it spans over 8,000 square kilometres at a height of over 3,800 metres above sea level. Surrounded by its glistening waters is a tiny speck of an island, Pariti Island, home to one of the oldest cultures in South America. This small island is home of the indigenous Aymaras, descendants of the Tiwanacotas, who inhabited this part of South America in the year 1500 BC. The Tiwanaku culture was the most long-lived on the continent, lasting twice as long as the Roman Empire. The island's residents maintain many of their indigenous traditions, wearing their brightly coloured hats and shawls and weaving. There's been a recent effort to honour Pariti's history. not long ago, a history museum was opened. This museum is very good for us. It's also good for our children. We hope to have many people visit here, our island of Pariti. The museum, built with the help of a Swiss cooperation, showcases 260 pieces of ceramic and stone collected in 2 different excavations. They include carved animal heads and decorated ceramic vessels that reveal much about the ancient culture, the capital of which was Tiwanaku City in Bolivia. But the culture extended through Bolivia to encompass parts of Peru, Chile and Argentina. And the excavations in Pariti have revealed much to help answer historical questions about this pre-Columbian culture. These pieces are unique. They have not found identical ones even in Tiwanaku, and they are unique from the point of view of their treatment, of how they were modelled, and of the subject itself. Because in life, we haven't seen, for example, a man catching ducks before. It must be the environment which influences it, logically being on an island, but artistically they are exceptional. They are of the highest quality. Much is still being discovered about the Tiwanaku culture. Less than 2% of Tiwanaku City has been excavated so far. Many exciting discoveries lie ahead. But preserving Lake Titicaca's natural environment has also been a high priority in recent years. The Winne Marker, a 12-metre-long, 6-tonne raft made of bulrushes, is sailing Lake Titicaca, visiting local communities to educate them on the importance of preserving this stunning natural environment. The raft was made by the Aratia family in the town of Suriki. It's a project with a historic trajectory. There is a cultural trajectory with a native origin, which are the Aymaras, the sailors of Zurika Island. For Juan Hector Aratia, who was behind its construction, the project bears a strong cultural and historic stamp. This raft is for a cultural construction, to show what culture is, and also the environment in which we live, also to show the pollution that exists in Lake Titicaca. The remarkable vessel is being captained by Celso Aratia, who guides it along the blue waters with the skill inherited from generations of sailors. In the 1950s, the famed Kon-Tiki expedition proved vessels such as this one were capable of crossing vast oceans. Today, this boat is prized for plying an ancient trade route. Humanity's need to create landmarks takes many different forms. While kings dream of palaces and temples, others express themselves in their favourite medium. Sometimes it's chocolate. Or in miniature, the representation of existing landmarks or infrastructure. Big people still remembering what it's like to be little people. So well-known monuments in miniature, such as the Statue of Liberty, are set amongst domestic foliage. But for many would-be architects, the first step is often a bucket, spade and sand. As you grow, so does the size. In Berlin, there's an annual sand sculpture festival, and some argue expressing your dreams in sand is better than concrete and glass.
Es wird auch sonst so viel gebaut in Berlin in der letzten Zeit, wenn man sich umsieht. Diese alle Dinge.
There is so much being built in Berlin recently, and when you look around, all these things, the new railway station, Potsdamer Platz, they have taken decades to build, but when they are finished, then they are there for all eternity. Whereas the sand sculptures need just over a week for their sculptures, and they are much nicer than the modern architecture. And 6 weeks later, they are sand again. So if you want to support the arts, I think you literally have to stick the money in the sand.
muss man dann dieses Geld buchstäblich in den Sand setzen.
Sand is not unrelated to major construction materials. It's the basis of all concrete and glass. The sand sculptures here were created by 38 artists from 4 continents. The winner was Indian artist Sudarshan Patnaik. He is a professional and runs a sand art institute at his home in Bengal.
Really, I'm very happy to win this first prize because I couldn't expect to win this prize because last 2 years I am participating in this international competition, and last 2 years I am winning also public prize, but this year this first prize is for me is a like very big honor for me and for my country.
But different cities, different dreams are here in downtown Manhattan, the city of skyscrapers. The quest was naturally to produce the biggest, this time in a different medium.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are standing in front of the world's tallest chocolate sculpture, created by Alain Robin, which measures 20 feet 8 inches, a new Guinness World Record, ladies and gentlemen. Well done, sir. Congratulations.
A chocolate addict could die happy attacking this monster. It took nearly 2,300 pounds to make. That's more than 1,000 kilos of chocolate.
It's pure dark chocolate, and inside all the support, all the structure that makes this building strong is also chocolate.
The elaborate piece took more than 30 hours to build and involved a lot of climbing and pouring. The sculpture would fit right in with the famous New York skyline, even though it's not an exact replica of any one structure.
It's not really a real replica of any building. It's basically to create the tallest building. So there is a little bit of Rockefeller Center, a little bit of the Empire, and a little bit of the Chrysler building. So everything is a little bit mixed together. And my goal was to really reach the height.
After such a monumental effort, one question remains. What's for dessert? This will be a tough act to follow.